Good evening. Thank you all for coming tonight. I am Robin, and I am with Joyce Publishing. We publish AdMax and Home and Yard Magazine, which are local Tallahassee magazines. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me. And for Women Wednesday, I'm a membership director. If you're interested in becoming a member of Women Wednesday, it's $89 a month, or excuse me, a year, or $9 a month. You can find the link online at womenwednesdays.com or email me at members@womenwednesdays.com. Enjoy your evening.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Women Wednesdays. You could not have imagined that I'm not here. Of course I am. But also, like I always do, behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. Hi, I'm Tamara Smith. You can call me Tam. And we are here for another great Wednesday. We're so happy to have Junior League of Tallahassee with us today. So very excited to have Alexis here. Just a couple things. You know who Women Wednesdays is. If you don't, we are a collective, collaborative community of women. We want you to be seen. We want you to have a chance to learn, to ask all the hard questions or even the easy questions. And we want you to connect to the resources, the people, and the education that you need to move forward in whatever you are pursuing. So we're here for the entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs. We're here for the enthusiasts and the catalysts. We are here for women to be for Tallahassee to be the #1 city for women. So if you want to be a part of that, you already heard from Robin. That's over membership. Go to womenwednesdays.com and find out more information. $9 a month is what helps keep moving this forward. And we also have some great things we are rolling out this summer. Yes, we will still be moving this summer, and we will have some education opportunities, some workshops, more opportunities for you to learn and ask those questions and be in the know of all that you need to really pursue and be successful in your pursuits, your dreams, and your visions for what you are doing for the community. So I'm going to go ahead and give Alexis, a very like-minded organization, historically strong and impactful wherever they are. The Junior League is here with us tonight. She's going to talk with us about grassroots fundraising. And I know fundraising is a buzzword that we're all like, ooh, okay. It's one of those things we need, but we always don't know how to do exactly the right way. So we're going to hear from Alexis Langley tonight, the training director for the Junior League of Tallahassee.
Thank you very much. All right, can the slides come back?
Yes, we'll work on that while you get started.
That was me. I got it. My apologies.
This is what happens. Like we talk about all the time.
Now I have it. East Conference Room, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And we're back.
Hopefully we won't lose that again. All right. But
There we go.
all right. This will be interesting. I guess I do need this in front of me, huh? All right. Didn't think I did, but I did. All right. So hi. I'm gonna introduce myself in a second. Let's see how this works.
Ooh.
Look at that. All right. Here, can I like play? Sorry, y'all. We're just getting used to AirPlay. We're just gonna keep it. We can handle that.
We're gonna and make sure. Remember, you can post your comments and questions online at any point.
And I will take a break after every slide and walk you through this. But we're gonna be talking about lessons in grassroots fundraising. So really, we're gonna dive into things related to Junior League, what we're doing in the community. And then we'll kind of provide some tips if you wanted to try your own grassroots campaign, what some tips to consider, what you might want to just think about and include in what you do.
Oh, and Alexis.
Yes.
Oh, wait,
I will introduce myself. I don't know why the introductions are later, but they're just not the most important thing. So for the agenda, just so you know where we're headed as we go through this is I'm going to introduce myself, I promise, and we'll talk about grassroots fundraising. And get into that, what it is, what it means, tips and best practices, again, if you wanted to try your own campaign, what you might want to include, and then I'll tell you how Junior League raised over $70,000 in a week through our Little Black Dress Initiative peer-to-peer campaign.
That's amazing.
So, hi, I'm Alexis. I moved to Tallahassee in 2013 to go to Florida State University and have been here ever since. Worked almost exclusively in Tallahassee, even though I work currently for remote companies. I have a background in nonprofits, associations, and technology. So I am currently the customer experience manager for a donor management software company called Charity Engine. And I work with charities of all shapes and sizes and kind of support them using our technology to advance what they do with fundraising. So naturally, talking about fundraising strategy and what the Junior League does is really exciting for me. We don't actually use Charity Engine, so we're not going to be talking about Charity Engine, but it is a great platform for fundraisers. And I'm happy to talk about that later, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. I have been in Junior League I'm going on my 9th year, which is crazy. I joined the Junior League when I was 23, and much of my professional success and just the things that make me excited about being in and from Tallahassee are because of being a Junior League member. One thing I love about Junior League is every year you're placed on a committee or in a leadership position, and I've done things relating to fundraising and membership and training. And this year I'm just rotating off of my role with the Hope community and planning fun events for the families there. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what Junior League does throughout the campaign. But that's just a picture of what I've done and what I'm up to. This is actually a picture from my Little Black Dress Initiative campaign. You'll see I've got this pin that says "Ask me about my dress." We'll talk about that. And then this mural in the back, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this was actually a partnership sponsored by the Junior League of Tallahassee. And it is an influential woman on the road. It's right on the corner of Park Avenue and where the Tallahassee Chamber is. Don't think it's called.
Century Lake.
Yep, exactly. Yep, exactly. So that's something that I was inspired by. We had just done the mural announcement when we were doing our campaign photos. So, and then Junior League of Tallahassee. So we got to talk about Junior League of Tallahassee a little bit. So Junior League is a chapter of the Association of Junior Leagues International. It is an international organization in like London and Canada and I think Mexico. But we are one chapter of that organization. So we do a lot of things independently. The logo that you see is actually a brand from AJLI. We have a lot of great resources from AJLI, training, kind of how to run your Junior League or how to practice leadership. AJLI is a great resource for our league. But in Tallahassee, we've actually been around for 60 years. Over 60 years. We celebrated our 60th anniversary a few years ago. And over the years, we've kind of shifted things that we've prioritized, but our mission is to improve the lives of children and families through the effective action of trained volunteers. So not only are we focusing on serving our community with children and women, but we are focused on training the women who are serving our community so that not only are they effective when they're doing the work that they do, but they can go on and be productive members of other nonprofit organizations in their careers and things like that. So, I mean, there's many things that I love about being a member of Junior League, but I definitely believe that our members leave the organization stronger than when they came, and our community's better for it. Hi, thanks for joining us. But practically, because we'll talk about this with the campaign, what we do is we have community partnerships. So those will rotate. And so this year, we're currently partnered with the Big Bend Homeless Coalition, Hope Community. And our second project is Sable Palm. So we started our partnership with Sable Palm last year. And through our partnerships, there will typically be at least a year, sometimes 2 or 3. And the Junior League will have a committee dedicated to serving that community partner. And this is a resource that is available for our entire community. We evaluate applications every few years based on when we do have openings. But we'll work with that organization and build out a plan. For Hope, for example, I worked with our team on our 3-year plan and kind of building upon things that we've done in the past, but we're making recommendations to our league based on our partnership with Big Bend Homeless Coalition, which is now Family Promise. And, you know, for example, we're prioritizing events with the families. In the past, we've done meal shifts. We celebrate a lot of holidays with the families, and we have an awesome committee of folks who are coming up with creative ideas to celebrate those holidays with the families at Hope. And then we also have a section for renovations. This is obviously you know, something that requires a lot of investment, and we have done some pretty neat projects in the past. This current year, we focused on supporting the admin building. They're doing some really neat renovations there. But basically, Junior League comes in, we ask how can we help, and then we schedule shifts, bring our volunteers. Typically, it's going to be about 5 to 12 girl ladies per shift. Sometimes it's more, but that's just a great resource from a community partner angle. And then the other thing, of course, is done in a day. So any organization can apply, and we'll evaluate applications, and that's going to be like an event. We're going to prioritize events relating to women and children, but we do consider other applications for related. I know we did, for example, we'll staff some of the local events, just throwing that, fundraising events actually. We will not fundraise for you, but we will sign people in and set things up and things like that. So I'm gonna pause there for a second. I didn't get into some, actually I'm gonna include a couple more. We do have a couple signature projects. One is Mighty Meals, and that one is very cool. And that we started a few years ago. That was a big centerpiece of our fundraising efforts with the Grassroots campaign we'll talk about. But Mighty Meals is where we feed families over during spring break. So we work with Second Harvest, we fundraise, we collect items, and we fill boxes of basically kind of like folks' own like meal kits that we're sending off for families of 4. Some families get more boxes, but I'm a bad junior leader. I don't know how many families we fed this year, so if any leaguers are on, you tell me and call me out, and I'm sorry. But I know we're feeding more than 250 families during spring break, at least, because that's what we were doing when we were fundraising. So that's Mighty Meals. And then the second one, which is actually one of our oldest events, is Kids Boutique. And Kids Boutique is where we take children back to school shopping. We served more than 200 children this year. We have a partnership with Kohl's, and we give them $100, and I'm getting emotional. And our members, it's actually one of our biggest events, and we take kids, they don't really think about the budget, we manage that, but they run through Kohl's and they're so excited, and they get to pick out $100 worth of new school supplies, of school clothes, and then we give them backpacks full of all the supplies they need. So it's really neat. It's really cool to see. I mean, it's our biggest event, and it's really cool. So, any questions outside of that?
But what are you doing for Sable Palms?
Yeah, so Sable Palm, we just started that one this year. We've done a lot of events with the teachers. So we'll do, some teacher appreciation events. We've done some clothing drives, various supply drives. We do that for Hope as well. And then we also did a really neat beautification project a couple weeks ago where we purchased a bunch of flowers and planted them across the campus. So those are some of the things we're doing.
Well, you cross a lot of my world because I'm on the board of Second Harvest.
Wonderful.
So we thank you for that. And I'm on a board that serves the whole community.
Awesome.
And I own a storage facility, and I provide free storage to the organization so that they can store the stuff like clothing, kitchen appliances, whatever.
Oh, that's great.
And we actually work with Hope and convert what we call from hopelessness to hope, and transition women in particular into their own rental or homes.
That's awesome.
So we cross a lot of paths, and this is what I found in Tallahassee, that there is a lot of cross communications with regards to nonprofits, and that is good.
Yeah.
We all are going towards the same end, serving women and girls, mainly in what I am involved with.
That's awesome. Well, that might be something we'll definitely follow up on.
And I would say,
Yeah.
absolutely, that's one of the things Women Wednesdays is all about, is that collaboration. I heard you
Yes.
mention that the Junior League would actually help in the sense of provide people to support. Can you explain a little bit more about that? Because that's really interesting.
For Done in a Day?
Yes, for volunteering, you said, well, we may not do it for you, but we can have people there. What were you referring to there?
So our Done in a Day application should be on our website, and
Okay.
you can check that out. There should be some requirements. I haven't looked at it in a minute, but basically, if you say, for example, I was learning about fashion show, right? If you submit it in time, give us time, let us know what you need, right? Like we can sign people in, your event volunteers, if you need people to set up decorations or take down decorations or clean up. I think that's kind of an example of what we could do. And it would only be for nonprofit organizations, and we would prioritize organizations serving women and children.
I mean, that's amazing, because a lot of times that's a barrier to kind of executing something that could really be beneficial to the population.
Yes, and we struggle getting the word out sometimes. So by all means, if you work with a nonprofit that needs help, send them our way. Even just introductions with our leadership team, so we know what's going on. But the Done in a Day application is like the quickest way of getting what you need in front of the team that's responsible for scheduling it. So
about how many members do you have currently?
around 250,
Wow.
varies, active. So awesome. Any questions online?
Is there an age limit?
So, fun fact, so there is a minimum age limit, it is 23. Thank you, we'll talk about recruitment now. So the minimum age is 23 by June 1st. We used to have a maximum age limit. Some leagues still do, we do not. There's no maximum age to join Junior League, and something we would love to see is folks who may not identify as junior, but who would love to support an organization of women and give back. I joined when I was 23 years old. And I don't know if you remember what it was like when you were 23, but how wonderful it was to connect with anybody who was older than you, who had a job. And I'm not kidding. Some ladies who are still involved in Junior League who are 2 years older than me, they were superior and wonderful in my eyes. And just the fact there's no maximum age to be in Junior League. That's what you can provide. If you like volunteering, your kids are either grown or out of the house, what cooler way, especially Women Wednesdays, folks, you guys get the value of being involved. And not all of our members are 23, obviously, but that is kind of the dynamic that you have. So absolutely, no age limits. And recruitment is open until June 1st. We have a season where basically we'll open up our application, and that's going to be during the summer. And as of June 1st, we'll have our class, and then we have a new member training and orientation, where new members will learn all the things that I just spewed out, and start volunteering. So that is available now. I can send with maybe the follow-up or the post our link to recruit, but you can just go to our website, just Google Junior League of Tallahassee, jltallahassee.org.
Do you have to be sponsored?
No, I don't believe so. No, that was a thing in the past. So,
Yeah.
It changed.
And Junior League is a 100-year-old organization. We've got, it's existed in various forms over the years, but we are very inclusive and encouraging of everybody to join. That's us.
I will post it in the comments.
Wonderful, thank you, perfect. All right, so I didn't know how advanced we wanted to get here today. I work with fundraising technology, so I talk about this stuff all day. And I'll be talking about technology in one of our webinars tomorrow. But I do think this is helpful. Regardless of whether you're a board member or staff or just an advocate, anybody can use these tools to do what you do. I think about this all the time. I've been geeking out over financial feminism and following this podcast. And it's just stuff that I think is so important that Women Wednesday should also be talking about. And I know you've talked about that in the past. I've been to a presentation about financial management, but it's like people don't know this stuff. Like, how can I be a grassroots advocate for these things? I mean, just as an example, but in general, kind of nailing, like talking a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of what we do. And what a grassroots campaign could look like. In my world, we talk a lot about peer-to-peer, but who really cares what it's called? The idea is you're engaging a community, either of your members or of your advocates, to spread the word of your organization. And in this case, fundraising and ask for money that supports your organization, right? So some of the tips for, some examples actually of grassroots fundraising. So ours is gonna be around a campaign period of, we've kind of changed our date over the years. LBDI is actually a program of AJLI that we adopted in Tallahassee. It was started actually in London. So it's something that many junior leagues do. And the campaign period is Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. But frankly, I think it's probably intentional. But you can use any theme. For us, it's the week before Thanksgiving, leading up to Giving Tuesday. And for some organizations, you may have a run or a walk, sports, a day of giving. If there's a mission that has, domestic violence awareness, childhood abuse prevention awareness, those are great ways to get the message out. Besides fundraising, you're also spreading awareness of your mission, which I think is really what's so special about these types of campaigns. So you've got your campaign period, and then of course, if you're fundraising independently, you have birthdays, anniversaries, special occasions, and then personal goals. So I'd like to raise $100 for this organization this year because I can, right? I mean, you can really create anything around it. But I do think it helps to have a campaign period by blank, for your sanity. And then the three other tools in any really campaign will be, what's your message? What are you trying to say, right? Like, we could probably come up with a million incredible messages for what Women Wednesdays is doing, but what if we honed it down into a few key messages, right? We believe in blank. We want to see blank. Help us blank. For us, it's a lot about poverty. And so I will hold off on that. And so the message is about poverty, and we're gonna share statistics from Tallahassee so people know. Like, did you know that 1 in 3 kids in our community don't know where the next meal is coming from? And then, so having not only like a theme, but detail that goes with the messages. And then your messengers, so your advocates, the people who are representing your message, getting it out. And then channels. Social media is definitely not the only channel, but it's a great and effective one. Email, I had a lot of success with email. Letters aren't dead, if that's something you're interested in. But social media is definitely a great avenue. And so on the screen here, it's a screenshot from my campaign back in 2020 when we hit our biggest fundraising goal. So I'll just go ahead and use this as an example. So this week, I'm joining my friends from the Junior League Tallahassee for our annual Little Black Dress initiative. I will wear the same black dress every day to spark conversations and illustrate the tough choices our neighbors experiencing poverty have to make every day. My personal fundraising goal is $1,000. I had never raised $1,000 by myself before. Do you think I can find 100 friends to donate $10? Here's my link, and will you help me fill this list? So I think that's also kind of powerful about peer-to-peer fundraising, is you're not asking people to write big checks, or you're saying, hey, this is something I believe in, and I think you probably do too. Would you donate your coffee budget for the week or your lunch money today to help a family? And so that is kind of the high level. I unless you guys would like to, I was gonna go into the details, but I'd love to just get into our campaign. So I'm just gonna gloss over these a little bit, but some of the great benefits. Now, I do wanna have a disclaimer with this. So Junior League used a tool called CauseVox, right? So it's a software that allows all of our donations coming in to be tracked. And this is my work brain coming in for a second, because it's very important. Donor data, I think, is really important and something that any organization, large or small, should be thinking about. The people who give you money through a peer-to-peer campaign, one of the challenges actually is that they're not necessarily tied to the mission. So I get a lot of friends back home who donate to my campaign, but they donate every year. So Junior League doesn't have that data. And so I just think it's an important thing to think about when you are going out and encouraging folks to get involved in any fundraising campaign is where's your data? So a tool so we actually use CauseVox, which is not where I work. I thought it was a great tool, cost effective as well. But how are those donations coming in? So they are low cost in terms of the options available. And then, like I mentioned, you're spreading awareness of your mission all week or during the campaign period. So you're not just saying, hey, can you donate to my organization? You're saying, hey, what we do is important. This is the problem that our organization helps solve. Will you invest in what we do to solve that problem? So I think that's really neat, and it's just spreading awareness. Grows the donor base, so I mentioned that. And then engages donors as fundraisers. So as someone who has loved nonprofits most of my, I think, life probably, I started volunteering when I was 10, is that, this is like kind of a side, but is that when you're, especially as a nonprofit or as a leader in a nonprofit, when you're engaging in a grassroots campaign, you're seeing folks sign up to do this that you would never, who've never fundraised before. I've never fundraised $1,000 in my life. And that's what inspires me about this campaign with our members is you have folks who are terrified to ask for money and have never done it in their life, but they love Junior League, they love what they do, what we do, and what we stand for and what we do with the funds we raise. And so that's really inspiring to see. And just a great way of engaging your supporters and giving them an opportunity to have something to be proud of. I raised $1,000, and not just me, like 50 to 80 women in the Junior League helped raise the funds that we brought together for our campaign. So I think that's really neat. Challenges going to be data, security. So, it is a great tool, but Venmo requests and Cash App and cash, it's good. You've got to make sure it gets to where it goes, but you're not getting any of that data, and you don't know if it's getting where it needs to go. So,
what you think about Donor Box?
I've heard of it, but I've never used it. Is that a peer-to-peer tool?
Donor
Box. The question was, what do I think about Donor Box? I'm not really familiar with the other tools out there.
I have that one, but I'm still trying to learn it. You can create campaigns on there. So we have people donate through it and can capture,
Good
stuff, but I'm still trying to learn.
We can talk more about that. There's plenty of great peer-to-peer technologies or fundraising softwares out there, but it is just make sure you're tracking your donor data and you've got an easy way for your donors to give you money. I'm gonna come back to that. Yeah, that's my dog. That's Margot.
Oh.
And I thought that was really cute. Ask me about my dress. She did not wear a dress, but she is a
She's
black
got
dog. So we're gonna get into the little black dress.
Have you ever had to, is there anything that you've ever had to do for one of the leaguers? They're like getting ready to do this initiative and they're like, I'm really nervous. You talked about how some are just like, I've never asked for money in this way. So are there any things that you share with them?
Absolutely. So let's get into that one. I talk about this story all the time because I love it. Okay, so we're gonna scroll down to the bottom here to engage your advocates. So one thing that we've done more of in the past few years, but we'll typically, so there's 200 active members of Junior League, and they know about Little Black Dress because we tell them in the new member training program. We will tell them, hey, you should be an LBDI fundraiser. But some of the elder leaguers like myself, I mean 9 years elder leaguer is
Time, yes.
I just decided that was a term that we should use when you've been in the league for more than 8 years, because you can go sustaining. It's like a privilege to go sustaining, but I have chosen not to because I am having too much fun. So we started doing some training. So typically we'll do low casual things like wine and cheese. Come learn about LBDI and what we do. We have a toolkit, so that's actually probably our most impactful secret weapon is going to be the toolkit. So the toolkit is copy and paste. Copy and paste. So if you see this suggested social media copy, we will send you a file. It's a Google Drive, and we'll send this big email. We do a lot of hype events, y'all. We've done this for a few years. And we will give you not only copy and paste, we will give you copy and paste by channel. And this I had nothing to do with. We have really impressive ladies that work behind the scenes to make this stuff happen. We have a really talented communications director this year. So, I mean, this is just really impressive hard work that made this thing happen. But look at these graphics. They're beautiful. And so we just had this folder full of things. So that's the first thing that I think makes it really easy. Copy and paste. No questions about where. So I end up writing my own. But because, part of this is, I usually talk about things that I have done. I am part of Hope this year. I actually was on my honeymoon this year for LBDI. I'm sorry. But I did wear a black dress.
See? You were still there.
So so we'll do wine and cheese, and then we started doing. So I was funding director, a couple of years ago, and I know at that time at least, I had some of our ladies who had successful campaigns just teach us what are your tips. So jump around a little bit. So we had this fun wine and cheese event, right, at the Governor's Club where one of our members works. And yes, there was wine and cheese. And we just talked about the campaign, how we're successful, or what has made other folks successful. So we'll do trainings. I know these are bad, but I gave this presentation, I couldn't find the files. So we will actually do a training for our members to say, hey, this is what you could do. Here's what I did. So Carla, who is our incoming president, could not be here tonight. She is wonderful. She has a post here, but one thing we do is can I get 5 friends to give blank amount of money, right? Help me fill a backpack. And we post it on social media, and then as people give, we're saying, hey, thanks Carla, thanks Christine. And then we're tagging them in social media. This is not my strength. I'm not good at the constant social media updates, but plenty of people are. I'm more of an email and a texter. Or LinkedIn message. I figured that one out a couple of years ago, and that was crazy.
You must be 32.
I will be this year. But what I love is I have very generous professional peers who support things like the Junior League, and I never thought of that. And now that I'm 32, I think of those things. So anyways, we make it super easy.
And what's great is that you said, I'm not good at this part, but you leaned into the things you are strong.
Yes.
So it doesn't become a burden. It's something that you can do, just leaning into your strengths.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, and so this email probably made, I don't know how much money, because I didn't do data analytics on my personal fundraising campaign, but I do that with my customers, and it's fun. So I'll tell you one of my favorite tools. It's called GMass, GMASS. It's an integration with Google. It is free, and it's mail merge for Google. There's a paid version. I did. In it, you have a limit of how many you can send, but I love it. And it allows you to pull in the personalization. So you'll see at the top here, it says GMass. But I thought that the message was really strong. And I guess we'll come back to that. But I mentioned the toolkit, we do the trainings. And I think that's really it. I mean, we've done it for so many years that we haven't really needed, I mean, it blows me away at how successful these ladies are with their campaigns, and they just do it. You know, you get to a point where so the other thing that we do that I do think is clever is we do pre-campaign photo shoots. So if you see this photo here, this was the Workmen's, who were great partners for us and took portraits of all of our ladies in our black dress. They've done this for a few years. They actually took some photos of us. Sorry for the scrolling. Maybe I don't have it, maybe I do. So I don't, but they took a photo of us at the Tallahassee sign. Sorry, that was my ending slide. Excuse me. And then we'll just take all these photos because we're in our black dress. You have your friends to take them for you. And so you'll see here I have like a 5. That was because I was planning on posting this on the 5th day, right? Like I'm really planning ahead here.
Better not miss it.
Sometimes I do, but you just kind of collect your photos so that you have something to post every day. So no, I didn't take a selfie every day, but I did wear the dress every day. And I wore my pin. And I never asked if that was okay at work. I would do all online meetings. But that's the idea. So we support women who can't wear dresses, right? Like some folks have to wear pants for their jobs. Our LBDI chair, Corey, she works for Coca-Cola and she wears pants, and she actually did wear a dress. She operates a semi and, you know, carries big things of Coke products. And she was just a great cheerleader for us, and that's what she did. I mean, and we do have pins that say, ask me about my outfit.
Okay.
And so if I didn't mention this, the point of the black dress and the pin is I want to tell you about why I'm wearing the same dress for 5 days. And it's because folks in our community don't have the choice to, you know, sometimes they don't have the choices of whether they want to pay for their electric bill or where they're getting their next meal. So that's why I'm wearing this dress, and that's why I'm part of the Junior League of Tallahassee. And one thing that we do with the funds that we raise is we feed families during spring break. Families who are expecting a meal, or kids that are expecting a meal at school, and we give them a box to bring home for the week. So kind of starting that conversation. And we provide all of those talking points because I know it's a little unnerving and scary. I mean, I thought it was. I've been doing this for a few years, but to get moving, so.
Nothing wrong with little black pants.
No, not at all. And some people wear little black jumpers. But yeah, lots of fun. And it's usually, I mean, it's typically the week before Thanksgiving. So it's sometimes chili, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's both.
So these are the conversation starters.
Yeah.
What people will see maybe in the store or something.
Yes, at the grocery store, at coffee shops.
Gas station.
Yeah, exactly. So that's fun. And then the hype events, I kind of talked about those. We have like a celebration at the end where we recognize like our new member who raised the most, the person who got the most total fundraiser, the person who got the biggest gift. Becca Pierce, who's our outgoing president, she has historically been an incredible fundraiser for this, and she's got big donors coming in. So it doesn't matter. I mean, you can have 100 donors and give you $10 and you can still be successful. Thank your donors is my follow-up on the data piece, is encourage your folks as they're doing this to thank their donors, write letters. It's so hard to commit to. But make it easy. We had like letter writing
Parties.
Yeah. but I think the other thing that's just kind of like my personal thing that excites me about fundraising is you don't fundraise, like when I ask somebody for a gift, I'm not like, you're not giving it to me. And I remember doing fundraising training one time, and the speaker asked, why do people give? It's because they want to. It's not just because they care, but they give ultimately because they want to. So you're not forcing money out of people's pockets. You are the advocate for the thing that you represent and care about, because we feed over, I don't know what the number is, but it's more than 250 families. That's not a small amount of impact of families who have a meal to eat for 5 days. And so this is one of the things I had when I was funding director. What I had presented to our members is like, you're here because you care about what we do. What if we could feed more than 250 families? What if we could take more kids back to school shopping? And what if we could increase our impact through our community partners? I learned through Hope/Family Promise how small, our budget can go and how big the need is. And you don't do this with big hearts, right? Big hearts doesn't buy new washing machines, but funds do, dollars do. And so these, I think, are really compelling messages for your advocates, at least they are for me. And I know I always need a reminder.
I think that's been, for me, separating the know that it's not personal to me.
Yeah.
And so that's the part I struggle in with fundraising, is like separating the two. And
Absolutely. So one of the comments we got in here is when people say no, they're not saying no to you. It's to you personally, right? Maybe it's no. But it is tough sometimes. I know, yeah. So any other tips on asking strangers for money or fundraising?
I think the other important thing to remember is the answer to why don't people give. It's because they were never asked.
Yep, that's a good point.
And if they're going to give, they're going to give somewhere else to someone. They just have to be asked. And yeah, they have to be given the opportunity.
That's a good point. So they definitely won't give if they aren't asked. Do you think they could hear that?
I think yes, I think so, and it's true. I know for me, I had a background for my personal story, I had a background in working with a lot of the populations that need the funds for resources and whatever, but I had not been on the side of doing the fundraising. So what I had as I started in the role where I started fundraising was stories. So sometimes it was the stories because sometimes people say no because they didn't connect. Like they hear what you're doing, but they didn't really listen, and they say, good for you, that's great work that you're doing.
Yeah.
But if they connect to a story, a lot of times they'll see the need and they'll say, oh, well, yes, I'll do what I can. And I think also giving options, even if I get a no on the funds, I'll say, well, consider the next time you're at the grocery store, think of us, or, if you can give your time. So if there's other options and other ways they can engage, that would be great too.
I love that. And I think what is really special about what you said with the stories and what our members do is they're the ones who are, seeing the impact and the need. And sometimes the people you're asking to help support you need to see that and hear that too. It's storytelling is a big piece of fundraising, and there's lots of good content out there on that. But sometimes you just one of the reasons why I got emotional thinking about Kids Boutique is I had asked someone on our team to share why are you part of Junior League? For me it's because I've always been involved in civic engagement. It's important to me. But hers was, I grew up getting my food from a food bank, and I grew up wanting the backpack of school supplies that I didn't have. And so with Junior League, like I get to do that and I get to help more people be a part of it. And I think that's really neat and moving and really cool. The things that we do when we work with nonprofits, bringing those stories to life and not forgetting them with the work that you do, because volunteering is hard. You know, I don't know if all the Women Wednesday volunteers are volunteers, or leaders are volunteers, but it's easy to get caught up in the work and you're busy and you're tired and you're like, why am I doing this? So sometimes you need that story for you too.
So let me ask you this, even with the story. So, the nonprofit I started because of my own experience, but then there's a time that I feel like people don't see the cause as much because they all connect everything to my story. And so how do you separate the two? Is like, so I'll hear somebody, oh, have you heard of her testimony? Have you heard? And it's like, okay, I get that part of it, but trying to separate the two, or does it really matter? I don't know, for me, it's like I don't want the focus to be on me solely. Like, yes, that's the foundation of the why I started, the background, but how do you, and is that gonna come just developing your messages through the advertisement, you separating from the why of what caused you to advocate for it, aside for this is an issue, not just my issue, but this is a bigger picture where people are not just getting caught up in, sometimes I don't know if I explain that right, but sometimes I feel like it's more of not separating the cause from the feelings. You feeling more sympathy for the
person that
the reason behind it, rather than seeing the bigger picture of why it's needed.
Where do you operate?
Well, I started the nonprofit in Montgomery, Alabama.
But in Tallahassee, what's the population?
So always working with women and youth impacted by domestic violence. And so we have not actually incorporated here yet, because I've only been here a little while. That's what I'm trying to do. We're coming in our 10th year in Alabama, so I'm trying to.
You've heard of Refuge House?
I have. I've reached out a couple times. I'm not able to really haven't been able to get a response, but I have heard. I've looked.
Yeah, because they are, I'm sorry to say, the premier organization in Tallahassee with regards to that. So if you're starting, you need to get some help from them, because there's a need. There is a need, and as many as there are already existing, one more will not hurt. Just
And I will say, I know you were talking about it kind of being, and Alexis, if you don't mind, you may think that people are supporting because they know your story. That might be okay. But what you could do is, for example, I'm thinking what I would do in that situation, because people do that for me too. I don't have a nonprofit, but I have a story. And they will do that to me, and I'll say, I know, and because of my story, I know of so many others like, and then I present another story, different names. It may be actually a paraphrase of another story, but I kind of deflect in a way so that they understand that this is not just my story. This is a lot of people's story. Yeah, and so and that could be one way. Just have a couple in mind on deck.
So one of the ways I think I kind of deflected, where we do for the last 9 years, this will be our 10th year, we do a fashion show and we educate through fashion. So we bring other ladies that are able to share their experience and giving others tools on what they did to overcome. And, it may not be their story, but how can I help someone else? And so that's a way I kind of looked at, well, how do I take it off of me solely and place it on this is others are experiencing these things. And so that was one way that I do it. So like our thing is we educate the community, empower victims or survivors to end repeat cycles of unhealthy relationships. So we do that, but we show this is not just a me thing. but this is things that are impacting our community, impacting mothers or whatever. And so that was one way I tried to, sometimes it still come back, but that's how I try to, you know, take it off of me and showing that this is, it's not me that's going to, maybe you know an aunt, maybe you know things, you know, maybe you know someone that's a youth that has experienced it. So that's how I've tried to take it off of me in a sense, and it works sometimes or for a little while, but, you know, just developing that message that to make people see that this is a bigger issue than just one person.
Where do you get your clothes?
So we have designers that come and they provide the clothing for the ladies. We used to go to TJ Maxx and they provide clothing and things, so they don't have to do, you know, they may have certain articles they may add to the outfit or something that we provide.
Have you ever tried a consignment store?
Mm-mm.
We should talk after.
Yes.
Alexis,
Let's in mind, and then we can continue this great conversation. But the last
Having
thing,
good.
the last
Having
thing, thank
good.
you. Just to close up, I feel like we had a pretty good conversation. Hopefully we weren't all over the place. But thank you for tuning in or watching later or being here. And whatever brought you here that made you want to learn about this, like that's really neat. And thank you. You know, I mean, this is kind of a volunteer initiative to a certain degree, so I admire that and appreciate that. And the last thing is just that we were so successful in one of our Little Black Dress Initiative campaigns. This was not the year I was funding director, but I did help fundraise this year. And we were actually recognized by CauseVox, which is a pretty popular platform for the LBDI campaign, as one of 9 successful Junior League campaigns that stand out.
That's awesome.
And what I think is so cool about this is that we had, so not only did we exceed our goal, and this always just gives me all the cozy feelings, and I do have a follow-up to this, but 943 My Email boxes, so boxes that feed a family for a week, and 1,562 donors. So we're not talking about, you know, big checks. We're talking about a grassroots campaign that made this possible. So 1,500 people who felt like what we were doing mattered enough to give. And so I think that's really special. Now, something for a later conversation is we've not been able to maintain that goal. This was actually right as the pandemic was hitting. We were feeding families, right after the pandemic in 2020. So I think that was helpful. I think we saw an increase in donations for social service organizations during that time, which we certainly benefited from. So it has been, just to be completely honest, a struggle to hit those goals at that level. So while we're really proud of this result and what we've been able to do with the funds that we raised, it is an ongoing effort to make sure that we've got a great slew of women involved in the campaign, that we're training them, and that we're just keeping the message out there to hit our fundraising goals, because we know, as we've talked about, that the things that we're raising our money for is important for our community. So that's all I have. And if you want any questions on the live stream before we close it down?
No, not right now. We've had hearts and likes and all of that fun stuff. So we thank you for participating online, and do remember that this will be available. It lives here on the Women Wednesdays page and on YouTube and on Donny Station's page as well. So you can go back and watch. There were some great tips in today's episode online, but in today's talk today. So everyone, let's give Alexis a hand. Thank you for joining us online. This is the last speaker series event for the spring, but it just means that you have lots to go back and watch on our pages, like I said before, and we have great things that we will be announcing in just a couple weeks for this summer. So please make sure that you are part of the Women Wednesdays social media pages. Go to womenwednesdays.com to learn more, to become a member, or to learn how you can support in many ways and be a part of the movement to make Tallahassee a #1 city for women. But we're going to leave online and we're going to keep talking here because, as usual, we could keep talking. So thank you, everyone.
Should we do a picture for Marvin first?
Yes,
Yes, we
please.
should do our